In today's guide, I'll be showing you how to build a Pyroclasm starter shotgun using a crit focus build. This weapon has always been a powerhouse, but with the latest update, it just got a whole lot more interesting. One of the biggest changes is that we now retain our charges when switching weapons, and that means we can get a lot more creative and aggressive with how we play Pyroclasm. Whether you're clearing mobs and melting elites, this build brings the heat in all the right ways. In this guide, I'll walk you through the full setup from weapon perks and mods to the ideal stats and playstyle. So if you're ready to turn your enemies into ash, buckle up, sit back and enjoy the ride. So now let's take a look at how the Pyroclasm shotgun functions and take a look at how to use the weapon. It has a 27% chance to trigger burn on hit and also has a 20% chance to generate a deviated particle, which can be picked up to enter a charged state. These are very important in order to do really good damage with this build. I'll explain a bit more in a minute. Next, if reloading while in a charged state, the ammunition will be replaced with Dragon Breath rounds. The Dragon Breath rounds deal elemental damage weapon damage equal to 95% of your attack, and burn damage bonuses apply. This means that any extra burn damage bonuses you have from mod and from deviants are applied to the Dragon Breath rounds. And for the last trait, we gain blaze damage plus 20%. Reloading consumes all charged stacks. Each charged stack provides an additional 8% increase to blaze damage, up to a maximum of 4 stacks, until the next reload. So what that would mean is that full stacks will gain an extra 32% blaze damage, and don't forget we gain a flat 20% blaze damage as well. So in total, at 4 charged stacks that are consumed and turned into Dragon Breath rounds, the gun alone gives you a total of 52% blaze damage once all requirements are met. So let's take a look at these deviated particles and how they affect the gun. So here you can see that I only have the gun equipped, no armor, no mods, just the gun. So after emptying a full clip, I hit a maximum DPS of 5400 and my burn ticks reach 82. With one charge stack, my highest DPS hits for 6.7 and my burn ticks hit for 367 from the Dragon's Breath, up to 116 from the burn status. Next we have 2 stacks and I hit a highest DPS of 7.4, burn ticks of 390 from Dragon's Breath and 123 from the burn status. When having a total of 3 charges, I hit for a maximum of 7.6 thousand, with Dragon's Breath burn of 413. However, here you can see that my burn status ticks are only 78. This is because it took longer for the actual 20% chance to inflict burn to take effect. And lastly, when having 4 charge stacks, my highest DPS is 7.5k, and the Dragon's Breath rounds are hitting for 436, and my burn stacks ticks are for 138, as this time the 20% triggered earlier in the mag. Now that we have discussed the gun's functions, let's take a look at the calibration and accessories that you would want to pair with this gun. So as for the calibration, as mentioned, I am running this gun in a crit build. The reason I have decided to run it in a crit build and not a full elemental build is that we gain a significant amount of elemental boosts from our armor sets that we'll be using and from some of the mods that we'll be pairing with that. Being said, I was hitting at least an extra 100k in total on the dummy. However, I find that when the 20% chance doesn't hit or activate, that the gun really suffers and can cause major problems when running high level content. So with that being said, this is why I chose to run the build as a crit. So for the calibration, I am using a purple version of Rapid Shot with double crit rate. I strongly recommend trying to get a legendary version. However, I wasn't lucky enough to have one drop yet. For my accessories, I have chosen to run the extended brake for the muzzle, the compact infrared indicator for my tactics. For magazine, I'm using the shotgun drum mag, and for ammunition, I'm using disintegrating shotgun AP ammo. This will give me a total stability of 46, accuracy of 47, range of 47, and a reload speed of 13. So now let's take a look at the secondary that I'm going to pair it with, and I've chosen to pair the DE50 Wildfire. The gun gets 60% chance to trigger the bullseye when hitting the target, has an 80% chance to spread the bullseye to one enemy within a 15 meter area when hitting marked enemies. If there are no enemies within the area, weapon damage plus 25% for 10 seconds. When hitting a weak spot of marked enemies, attack plus 3% for 10 seconds, up to 3 stacks. Now, and for my calibration, I'm running a rapid shot style with double weak spot damage. For my accessories, I am running a multi-break for my muzzle, compact reflex sight for my optic, integrated laser sight for my tactics, extended pistol mag and tungsten pistol AP ammunition. This gives me a grand total stability of 53, accuracy of 93, range of 48 and a reload speed of 60. And for the melee weapon, I'll be using the Kukuri. Defeating the target grants all weapons attack plus 30% and crit rate plus 15% for 10 seconds. And when defeating the target with a heavy strike, psi intensity plus 20% and restores HP by 200% of psi intensity. So both of these traits will be achieved from breaking just one ice crystal with a heavy attack, and they both give significant damage boosts. Now that guns are done with, let's take a look at some damage numbers. For the raw damage test, I will show you the damage before and damage after max stacks of Dragon Breath. Then for all the other damage tests, Dragon Breath will be active at 4 stacks. So with that being said, as you can see, I hit nearly 42,000 K, and that's without the Dragon Breath perk activated. After reloading and getting the max stacks from Dragon's Breath, my DPS rockets to 93,000 DPS, which is a major DPS jump. Next on the damage chest is the bullseye effect. So after applying bullseye and then emptying my clip, I end up hitting a highest DPS of 122,000. Next is the Kukuri knife. So after breaking the sticky ice cube and gaining the buffs, I hit a highest DPS of 138,000. As you can see, utilising the bullseye and Kukuri knife both help boost this weapon's attack. So now let's take a look at what damage numbers we can hit when we combined all of these buffs together. First, fully buffed damage test is for people that are not running the Chef's class. Here you can see I hit a highest DPS of 360,000 and after 3 mags a grand total of 4,748,229. Next, let's take a look at fully buffed with the Chef class trait active. With this, I can consume 2 drink buffs and 2 food buffs. As you can see, when using the Chef class, my highest DPS climbs to 467,000, and after 3 magazines, my total DPS is 4,956,902. Before we move on, I'd like to take a quick moment to say thank you to everyone who's watching, and a huge thank you to all my subscribers as well. I honestly can't believe how fast the community and the channel has been growing. If you're enjoying the content and haven't yet subscribed, maybe consider joining this ever-growing community. I'd really appreciate it as well, as it helps me get closer to my milestone of 1,000 subscribers. With that being said, let's jump straight back into the guide. So let's start by looking at the food buffs. So if you're not running a chef class trait, then use mixed fried hot dog as your food option. Used to increase damage by 20% towards enemies affected by the bullseye. For this you'll need 1 piece of meat, 2 deviated mushrooms and 2 coin oil. I like to use a piece of deer meat as I gain 2% extra damage towards the bullseye. Also remember, there are a couple key ways you can increase the food buffs and drink buffs even more. For example, Advanced Stove Gourmand. Dishes made at the Advanced Stove Gourmand gain base effect of plus 30%, effect duration plus 50%, and crafting time minus 50%. Also, you have the Chef-Thesaurus Rex. Can boost the effects of your dishes by 38% if you have a level 5. Next is our drink buff, and again, if you're not running the chef class, you only have one option, and that is whimsical drink, used to gain 25% status damage bonus. For this, you'll need 1 crop, 1 deviated saffron, 5 purified water, and 5 ice. And again, remember the 2 tricks that I said about a minute ago, the advanced stove gourmand and the Chefsaurus rex for boosting the effects. With drinks, if they're made with ice, you can get ice treat brain freeze. Again, ice treat effect duration plus 200% and potency plus 30%. So now let's talk about if you're running a chef's class as well. So with this, you're able to run 2 food buffs and 2 drink buffs. So for our second food buff, I've chosen crumbly bread as I'm running a crit version, used to increase all weapon damage by 25%. For this, you'll need 2 wheat, 1 deviated aloe vera, 2 sugar, and 2 corn oil. And remember to make it with your advanced stove gourmand and your Chefsaurus to get their buffs. The reason I decided to choose Stardust Energy Drink as the second drink is because when you apply the double jump, you're actually in the air long enough to activate Tactical Leap from the cradle, which gives you 20% extra damage against deviants. And for our second choice of drink buff, I've chosen Stardust Energy Drink, used to gain the double jump ability for 30 minutes. For this, you'll need 2 saffron, 5 purified water, 5 sugar, and 3 aluminum ingots. And for the deviation, we're using the Lunar Oracle version of the Pyro Dino. Feel free to pause the video at this moment, as this is the cradle perk setup that I am currently running. So now let's take a look at the armor sets. And for this, I'm running a 3-piece Treacherous Tides. For weapon damage reduction of 10%, when HP is below 70%, gain weapon damage and status damage plus 12%, and the HP reduction from low sanity is decreased by 40%, weapon and status damage plus 10%, and further increases as your sanity drops up to a total of 28% at 30% max sanity. Since we're going for a crit build, I've decided to pair this with 2 pieces of Lone Wolf for magazine capacity bonus of 10% and a crit rate bonus of 5%. And for my key armor, I've decided to use the Fire Rune boots. When any target nearby is inflicted with burn, there is a 50% chance to generate a deviated particle. Picking it up increases blaze damage by 30% for 15 seconds. So not only do we get an increase of 30% towards our blaze damage after picking up a deviated particle, we also get an extra 50% chance to generate said deviated particle on top of the 20% chance that we get from the gun. Next, let's take a look at mods. So for the primary weapon, I'm using Burning Wraths with the burn suffix. Triggering burn has a 25% chance to grant plus 1 burn stacks, with the aptitude effects of burn damage plus 3.6%, damage against normal enemies plus 4%, head damage reduction plus 6.4%, and blaze damage plus 6%. For the DE50 Wildfire, I'm running Vulnerability Amplifier with the Precision suffix. The bullseye adds vulnerability plus 8%, with the aptitude effects of weak spot damage plus 9%, head damage reduction plus 6.4%, damage against elite enemies plus 4.5%, and max HP plus 3.6%. For the helmet mod, I am running Faithful Strike with the Lunar suffix. Cannot deal weak spot damage, crit rate plus 10%, and crit damage plus 30%, with the aptitude effects of damage against normal enemies plus 6%. The lower your HP, the higher your crit damage up to 30%. The lower your HP, the higher your weapon damage up to 9.6%, and max HP of 4.8%. For my mask mod, I am running Retrofusion Explosion with Violence suffix. When hitting burning enemies, crit rate plus 8% and crit damage plus 20%, with the aptitude effects of crit damage plus 15%, damage against great ones plus 2.4%, status damage reduction plus 4.8%, and damage against normal enemies plus 10%. For the chest mod, I'm running Ardent Shield with the Lunar suffix. While the shield is active, you gain 15% damage reduction. When the shield exceeds 1000 single instances of damage, they will not penetrate the shield, with the aptitude effects of the lower your HP, the higher your weapon damage up to 9.6%, max HP of plus 3.6%, damage against great ones plus 3.6%, and the lower your HP, the higher your crit damage up to 30%. For my pants mod, I am running Deadshot Violent. Each crit hit by a non-melee weapon grants plus 5% crit damage up to 45%. The effect is removed upon the next reload. with the aptitude effects of crit damage plus 15%, damage against elite enemies plus 4.5, damage against great ones plus 3.6, and weapon damage plus 6%. For the gloves mod, I am running crit boost with the violence suffix for crit rate plus 15%, with the aptitude effects of crit damage plus 15%, weapon damage plus 3.6%, damage against normal enemies plus 10%, and weapon damage reduction plus 3.6%. And for my shoes mod, I'm running Rush Hour Violent. Every 10% HP loss grants plus 4% melee, weapon, and status damage, with the aptitude effects of crit damage plus 15%, damage against great ones plus 2.4%, head damage reduction plus 6.4%, and weapon damage plus 6%. Here you can see the stats of the build once it's fully buffed and modded. I hope you've enjoyed watching my Pyroclasm starter guide. If you haven't yet subscribed, please consider hitting that button and joining our ever-growing community. But until next time, mares, burn it all.